So, what happens when a band finds a 30-year-old time capsule of their own music? Well, we're about to find out. This is a story about lost tapes, nostalgia, and a pretty amazing surprise for music fans.
Just imagine this. A band you've maybe followed for years, we're talking 3 decades, suddenly, completely out of the blue, decides to unlock a vault of unreleased music.
So the big question is, what kind of lost gems were just sitting there in boxes all this time, just waiting to finally be heard?
Well, that's exactly what just happened with the Australian pop-punk legends, the Daisycutters. They have just dropped a surprise album on everyone, pulled straight from their past, and it's called Perfume and Cigarettes. Frontman Cameron Wilson really says it best himself. This isn't some traditional, polished studio album. Nope, it's, and I'm quoting here, old stuff we've had sitting around in boxes. It's basically a treasure chest of music that never quite made it out into the world.
Okay, so let's get into it. What exactly are we getting with these 11 unheard tracks? Turns out it's a really fascinating mix that kind of spans their entire career.
I mean, this vault had everything. You've got old demos, some super rare B-sides, and even songs that were literally cut from previous albums at the very last minute. And on top of all that, they actually went back into the studio and completely re-recorded 2 of their classic tracks.
You know, just think about that creative process for a minute. A song gets put on the shelf, not because it's bad, but just because something new and shiny comes along that the band's more excited about. For some of these songs, that moment happened decades ago.
Okay, here's a perfect example. There's a song called Everything You Tried, You Failed. According to Wilson, that song was supposed to be on their very first album. It was that close to being part of their origin story, but it got bumped, and it's been sitting in the vault ever since. Wild. And what about those 2 fan favorites they re-recorded? We gotta talk about that, because this was not just a copy and paste job, this was a complete reimagining.
So what does that sound like? Well, think about the difference, right? The original songs, written and recorded by a bunch of 20-something pop punkers. These new versions, they're performed by middle-aged men. That is a whole lifetime of experience being poured back into the exact same lyrics and chords, and it adds this completely new emotional layer. You know, this album ended up being way more than just music. For the band, digging through all these old tapes was a deeply personal thing, like a nostalgic love letter to their own past.
For Wilson, the music isn't just notes and words. It's a trigger. He says he can literally picture where I was living. It's like a direct portal, a time machine, straight back to who they were and where they were in their lives back then.
Yeah, he talks about it as a more innocent time, before all the real-world pressures of families and jobs and everything else kicked in. So this album isn't just a collection of songs, it's a direct line back to the young guys they used to be.
And this entire process, this whole trip down memory lane, it led to something really important for the band: catharsis.
See, this wasn't just some business decision to release old music. For Wilson, it was, quote, a really cathartic experience. It was a way of finding some closure by finally sharing these forgotten pieces of their history.
Seriously, think about this for a second. Could you look back at something you wrote or made 30 years ago and not cringe, even a little bit? Wilson says that looking back, he's actually proud of every single line. That's a huge testament to just how strong their early songwriting really was.
All of which kind of begs one final question, right? After 3 decades, why release all of this now?
Well, for the band, the motivation really boiled down to this one simple question they asked themselves. Why have them in boxes? Why keep all this art hidden away? And the answer was just as simple. I mean, in the age of streaming, there was just no reason for this music to sit there collecting dust anymore. It was time to finally get it out into the world and just let people hear it.
So ultimately, this whole release, it serves to draw a nice line under their entire history. It's really this act of closure that makes their whole body of work finally feel complete and, available to everybody.
And with that, just as Wilson says, the vault is pretty much cleared. Every single piece of their recorded history is finally out there for fans to discover and enjoy. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. The Daisycutters revisited their past and found this amazing story of creativity and catharsis that was worth sharing. And it just makes you wonder, if you opened up a box of your own forgotten projects, what kind of story would it tell?